My name is Daniel Brooks. Most people see me as an ordinary single dad. A man who wakes up early, packs school lunches, pays bills, and spends his evenings helping his daughter with homework. And honestly, I am proud of that life. Because after losing my wife 8 years ago, my daughter Lily became my entire world. Every decision I make, every sacrifice I accept, and every challenge I face is for her. I never cared about fame. I never cared about attention. And I definitely never cared about impressing rich people. But one strange night changed everything. It all started with a phone call from Lily's school principal. The school was struggling financially. Several important programs were about to be canceled because there wasn't enough funding. The principal told me a major charity event was being organized by one of the most powerful businesswomen in Chicago. Her name was Emma Carter. Everyone knew who she was. Emma was young, brilliant, and incredibly successful. She had built a multi-million-dollar company and earned a reputation as one of the toughest CEOs in the city, the principal hoped. I could attend the event and speak with someone about supporting the school. At first, I refused. I wasn't comfortable attending fancy parties filled with wealthy strangers. But when I looked at Lily working on her school project at the kitchen table, I changed my mind. If there was even a small chance I could help her school, then I had to try. The night of the event arrived. I stood in front of my mirror, adjusting the tie I hadn't worn in years. The suit hanging on my shoulders wasn't new. It wasn't expensive, but it was clean. And it would have to do. Lily smiled as she looked up from the couch. "You look handsome, Dad," I laughed. "You're biased." "No, I'm not." "Yes, you are." She crossed her arms dramatically. "I'm always right." That made me smile for a moment. I forgot about the event. Then Lily walked over and hugged me tightly. "Good luck tonight." I kissed the top of her head. "Thank you, sweetheart." An hour later, I arrived at the luxury hotel hosting the charity gala. The place looked like something from a movie. Luxury cars lined the entrance. Valets rushed back and forth. Beautiful lights illuminated the massive building. The moment I stepped inside, I felt completely out of place. Men wore custom-tailored suits. Women wore designer dresses. Everyone looked rich, powerful, and important. And then there was me, a single dad trying not to spill coffee on his old suit. I quietly moved through the crowd, searching for the school principal. As I walked past groups of guests, I noticed many of them staring, not because they recognized me, because they didn't. I was invisible. Just another face in a room full of successful people. Honestly, I preferred it that way. Eventually, I found the principal near one of the banquet tables. He greeted me warmly. "Daniel, I'm glad you came." "Me too," he lowered his voice. "Emma Carter will be making announcements later tonight. Maybe we'll get lucky." I nodded. Hopefully, a few minutes later, excitement spread through the ballroom. People began gathering near the stage. The reason became obvious immediately. Emma Carter had arrived. Even from across the room, she commanded attention. She wore an elegant black evening gown. Her confidence filled the room before she even spoke. People rushed toward her, hoping for a conversation. A handshake, a photo, anything. Standing beside her was Ryan Stone, the famous boxing champion. I recognized him instantly. His face appeared regularly on sports magazines and television commercials. Ryan loved attention. You could tell just by looking at him. He smiled constantly, not because he was happy, because he enjoyed being admired. As the evening continued, guests surrounded Ryan. Many asked for pictures. Others asked about his training, his victories, his future plans. Ryan soaked up every second of it. Eventually, someone asked him a simple question. "Do you think anyone here could beat you?" The crowd laughed. Ryan laughed even louder. "Not a chance," people cheered. Then another guest joked. "What if someone actually did?" Ryan grinned confidently. "If anyone here beats me, I'll personally buy them dinner." The crowd laughed again. Then Emma raised her glass. A playful smile appeared on her face. "If anyone beats my champion boyfriend, I'll marry him." The entire ballroom exploded with laughter. People thought it was hilarious. Some guests even started volunteering their friends. Others pretended to stretch for a fight. The atmosphere became playful and entertaining. I simply shook my head and focused on my drink. This had nothing to do with me, or at least that's what I thought. Unfortunately, Ryan noticed me standing nearby. His eyes moved over my old suit, then a smirk appeared. "How about you?" I looked around me. Ryan pointed directly at me. "Yeah, you." Several guests turned toward us. I immediately felt uncomfortable. "I'm good," Ryan laughed. "Come on, I don't bite." The crowd chuckled. I smiled politely. "I'm not interested." Most people would have left it there. Ryan didn't. He stepped closer. "What happened? You scared?" A few people laughed again. I remained calm. "No." "Then why not?" "Because I'm not here to fight." Ryan shook his head dramatically. "That's a shame. I thought maybe you'd surprise us." The crowd laughed once more. I could feel dozens of eyes watching, but I wasn't angry. I had dealt with far worse things in life than an arrogant boxer. The school principal suddenly leaned closer. "Daniel," I looked at him. "If you participate, people might remember you. What does that have to do with the school?" Everything. He glanced toward Emma. "Attention matters." I understood what he meant. If Emma noticed me, maybe she'd also notice the school still. I hesitated. The last thing I wanted was to become entertainment for a room full of strangers. Ryan clapped his hands. "Come on, old man, give us a show." That was when something inside me changed. Not because of his insults, not because of the crowd, because I remembered why I came. The children needed help, including Lily. I slowly placed my drink on a nearby table. The ballroom became quiet. Ryan's smile widened. "There we go." Emma watched carefully. For the first time she seemed genuinely interested. I walked toward the exhibition ring set up for entertainment matches. People moved aside to let me pass. Many were whispering. Most expected me to embarrass myself. Honestly, I couldn't blame them. I looked like an accountant about to fight a professional athlete. Ryan climbed into the ring confidently. The audience cheered. I stepped inside. The bell rang. Ryan immediately began moving around the ring, relaxed, confident, smiling. He clearly believed this would be easy. He threw the first punch, fast, powerful, predictable. I moved aside. The punch missed completely. A few people gasped. Ryan blinked, surprised. Then he threw another punch. And another, and another. Each one missed. The crowd became quieter. With every passing second, Ryan's smile disappeared. Now he looked confused. For the first time all evening, he realized something wasn't right. He rushed forward aggressively, trying to overwhelm me. I waited, watched, calculated. Then I moved one quick strike. Nothing flashy, nothing dramatic, just precise. Ryan stumbled backward. The audience gasped loudly. Emma's eyes widened. Ryan looked shocked, as if he couldn't believe what had just happened. Anger flashed across his face. He attacked again, this time, harder, faster, more desperate. But desperation creates mistakes, and mistakes create opportunities. I blocked his attack, shifted my position, and delivered another clean strike. Ryan lost balance, his feet slipped, and suddenly the undefeated champion crashed onto the mat. The ballroom fell completely silent. Nobody moved, nobody spoke, nobody even seemed to breathe. Ryan Stone, the famous champion, the man who claimed nobody could beat him, was lying on the canvas, staring at the ceiling. The referee counted. Ryan tried to stand, but it was too late. The match was over. A few seconds later, the room erupted. People shouted, cheered, and stared at me in disbelief. Emma Carter remained frozen, her eyes locked on mine. I couldn't tell what she was thinking. Shock, curiosity, confusion. Maybe all three. Ryan slowly climbed to his feet. Humiliated, furious, speechless for a moment. Nobody knew what to say. Then Emma finally broke the silence. "Who exactly are you?" The room became quiet again. Every eye turned toward me. I smiled slightly. "My name is Daniel Brooks, And at that moment, without realizing it, the most important chapter of my life had just begun. Because defeating a champion was only the beginning. The real challenge was still waiting for me. Then, her name was Emma Carter. The morning after I defeated Ryan Stone felt strangely normally. Still woke up before sunrise. Still made breakfast for Lillian. I still packed her school bag before walking her to the front door. Anyone had looked inside my house, they never would have guessed that a video of me defeating a national boxing champion had gone viral. Overnight, millions of people were watching it. News stations were talking about it. Social media was flooded with clips and comments. But inside, my small home life continued, exactly as it always had. Lily sat at the kitchen table, eating pancakes, while scrolling through a tablet. Suddenly, her eyes became huge. "Dad," I looked up from my coffee. "What, you are famous?" I laughed. "No, I'm not." "Yes, you are." She turned the screen toward me. Video of the fight was playing. The title read, "Mystery Single Dad Destroys Boxing Champion." I nearly choked. On my coffee, Lily giggled. "See," I shook my head. "The internet exaggerates everything." "Still cool, though." I smiled. Maybe it was, but fame had never interested me. Attention comes quickly and disappears. Even faster, what mattered to me was Lily, nothing else. After dropping her off at school, I returned home and began working on several projects around the house. Round noon, my phone rang. The caller ID showed an unfamiliar number. Answered. "Hello," a calm professional voice responded. "Mr. Brooks, this is Emma Carter's office." I paused. The CEO herself. That was unexpected. "How can I help you, Miss Carter? Would like to meet with you this afternoon." I considered saying no. Last thing I wanted was more attention, but curiosity got the better of me. "All right, we'll send a driver." A few hours later, I arrived at Carter Enterprises. The building towered over downtown Chicago. Glass walls reflected sunlight across the skyline. Employees moved quickly through the lobby. Everything about the place screamed success. The receptionist guided me toward a private elevator. Few moments later, the doors opened onto the executive floor. Emma's office occupied nearly the entire level floor. 2 ceiling windows overlooked the city. The view alone was worth millions. I stood near her desk when I entered. She looked different from the woman at the gala, less glamorous, more focused, more serious. She extended her hand. "Thank you for coming." I shook it. "No problem." She motioned toward a chair. "Please sit." I sat down. Nima remained standing for several seconds, studying me almost as if she were trying to solve a puzzle. Finally, she spoke. "Who are you?" I couldn't help smiling. "My name is still Daniel Brooks." She rolled her eyes slightly. "You know what I mean?" "Not really." She crossed her arms. "You defeated a national champion. People don't do that by accident." I leaned back comfortably. "Maybe Ryan had a bad night." Emma laughed, the first genuine laugh I had heard from her. "No, that's not it." I stayed silent. She walked around her desk. "You moved like someone with years of professional training." I looked toward the windows. Maybe. She stared at me. "That's your answer?" "It's the truth." For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Then Emma, surprised. Mesh smiled. "You are incredibly frustrating." "Thank you." "I wasn't complimenting you." That made me laugh. Something about her confidence reminded me of people I had worked with long ago. Strong people, determined people who hated unanswered questions. Eventually, our conversation shifted toward the school charity program. I explained the financial challenges Lily's school faced. Emma listened carefully. Like many executives, she didn't pretend to care. She genuinely cared. That impressed me. By the time the meeting ended, she promised to personally review the school's request. As I prepared to leave, Emma stopped me. "One more thing." I turned. "What? Ryan wants a rematch." I wasn't surprised. "He can want whatever he likes. You're not interested?" "No." Emma studied my face. "Why?" I smiled. "Because I already won." Then I walked away. Behind me, I heard Emma laughing again. Later that evening, Emma sat alone in her office, thinking about our conversation. About me bothered her, not in a bad way, in a mysterious, Way nothing about me made sense. A simple single father should not be able to defeat Ryan Stone. A simple single father should not remain completely unaffected by attention, and a simple single father definitely shouldn't make her curious eventually. Curiosity won. Nama contacted a private investigator. She wanted answers. The investigation began immediately. Meanwhile, my day continued. I picked up Lily from school, helped with homework, cooked dinner, and listened to her endless stories about classmates and teachers. One point, she looked at me carefully. "Miss Emma likes you." I nearly dropped a plate. What? Lily giggled. "She does. You talked to her for like 5 minutes. That's enough." I shook my head. "You watch too many movies." "No." She smiled mischievously. "You like her too." I pointed toward her homework. "Finish your math." She laughed loudly. "Children notice things. Adults often miss that." Thought stayed with me long after dinner ended. The next day, Emma received the investigation report. The moment she opened it, everything changed. The first page alone shocked her. Daniel Brooks, former elite military combat instructor specialized in advanced defensive tactics, hand-to-hand combat expert instructor for special operations personnel. Read every line twice, then 3 times suddenly. Ryan's defeat made perfect sense, but the surprises didn't stop there. As she continued reading, she discovered something else, something far more important. Over the past several years, anonymous donations had been made to hospitals, orphanages, schools, and community programs throughout Chicago. The total amount reached millions of dollars. Donor's identity remained hidden, except it wasn't hidden anymore. The donor was me. Emma leaned back in her chair, completely stunned. I had never spoken about charity, ever posted about it online, never sought publicity. Simply helped where I could because that was what mattered. The report also revealed details about my personal life, my marriage, the accident that took my wife, the years spent raising Lily alone. For the first time, Emma saw the entire picture, and the picture looked nothing like the assumptions she had made. She closed the file slowly. The mysterious man who defeated Ryan Stone wasn't chasing attention, he wasn't chasing money, and he definitely wasn't chasing fame. He was simply trying to be a good father. Across town, Ryan Stone was having a very different day everywhere he went. People talked about his defeats, commentators questioned him, fans mocked him online, sponsors demanded explanations. Frustration grew stronger by the hour. Eventually he snapped during a live interview. "Ryan publicly challenged me to another fight. This isn't over. It was a lucky shot." The host asked whether he believed I would accept. Ryan smirked confidently. "He doesn't have a choice." Unfortunately for Ryan, he was wrong. I had absolutely no interest in fighting him again. That evening, Emma unexpectedly visited my home. When I opened the door, I looked genuinely surprised. "Emma." "Hello, Daniel." She smiled awkwardly. "I hope I'm not interrupting." Before I could answer, Lily appeared behind me. The moment she saw Emma, her face lit up. "Miss Emma." Emma immediately smiled back. "Hi, Lily." Within minutes, the two of them were talking as if they had known each other for years. I watched from the kitchen while preparing coffee. The scene felt strangely natural, comfortable, almost familiar. One point, Lily showed Emma family photographs, picked from vacations, birthdays, school events. Photos of my late wife. Ma studied them, quietly, respectfully. When she looked back at me, her expression had softened. For the first time, there was no curiosity, no suspicion, only understanding. As the evening continued, we talked about life, family, and lost topics, deeper than business or boxing, topics that actually matter. Eventually, Lily stretched and yawned. It was getting late. Before heading upstairs, she suddenly stopped. Then she looked directly at Emma and smiled. "You know what?" Emma asked. "I think you'd make a really good mummy." The room froze. I nearly spilled my coffee. Emma's cheeks turned bright red. Lily seemed completely unaware of the chaos she had created. She simply smiled and disappeared. Upstairs, silence filled the room for several seconds. Neither Emma nor I knew what to say finally. We both started laughing, but after the laughter faded, something remained. Feeling neither of us could ignore, because somewhere between the boxing match, the investigation, and this quiet evening, the relationship between us had begun changing. Neither of us planned it, neither of us expected it, but for the first time, the future looked different. Neither of us knew where that path would lead next. After the night Emma visited my house, things began changing faster than either of us expected. At first, the changes were small. A phone call here, a coffee meeting there, a quick conversation about Lily's school. Nothing unusual, nothing romantic, at least. That is what we kept telling ourselves. But the truth was becoming harder to ignore. Emma and I enjoyed spending time together. For the first time in years, I found myself looking forward to someone's company. Besides Lily's, and Emma seemed to feel the same. The problem was that life rarely allows happiness to arrive without testing it first. And that test came in the form of Ryan Stone. The former boxing champion had become obsessed with revenge. Every interview he gave somehow turned into a discussion about me, every public appearance included another excuse for his defeat. Some days he blamed luck, other days he blamed distractions. Then there were days when he simply blamed me. At first I ignored it. Most people eventually move on. Ryan didn't. His pride had been damaged. And pride can be a dangerous thing, especially when someone values their reputation more than their character. One Monday morning, Emma called me unexpectedly. The moment I answered, I knew something was wrong. Her voice sounded tense. "Daniel, what happened? I need to see you." I'm on my way. Less than 30 minutes later, I arrived at Carter Enterprises. When I entered Emma's office, she stood near the window, staring at the city skyline. Several folders covered her desk. Financial reports, audit documents, internal records. The moment she turned toward me, I could see the stress in her eyes. "Tell me what's going on." Emma took a deep breath. "My company is missing money." I frowned. "How much?" "Millions." For several seconds, neither of us spoke. That wasn't a small accounting error. That was a disaster. Emma sat down heavily. "My finance department discovered suspicious transactions. At first we thought it was a mistake, but it wasn't. Someone moved company funds through multiple accounts. Very carefully, very professionally, I looked at the documents. Do you know who?" She shook her head. "Not yet, but we're investigating something about the situation felt wrong. Large financial crimes rarely happen without inside help. Whoever did this understood Emma's company extremely well. That meant one thing: the threat was probably closer than she realized." Over the next several days, the investigation intensified. Accountants reviewed transactions. Lawyers examined contracts. Executives attended emergency meetings. Meanwhile, Emma barely slept. She spent nearly every waking hour trying to protect the company she had spent years building. One evening, I found her alone in her office. The building was nearly empty. Most employees had gone home hours earlier. Emma sat at her desk, staring at spreadsheets. Dark circles had appeared beneath her eyes. I placed a cup of coffee beside her. She looked up and smiled weakly. "You always know. When I need caffeine, I have experience." She laughed softly. Then the smile faded. "What if I lose everything?" I pulled a chair beside her. "You won't. You don't know that." "No, I know you." She looked at me quietly. "You built this company from nothing. You survived challenges most people never see. You're stronger than you think." For a moment, her eyes softened, then she looked away. "Thank you." The next morning, the investigation finally produced answers, and those answers shocked everyone, including Emma. The evidence pointed toward one person: Ryan Stone. At first, Emma refused to believe it. Even after everything that happened, she struggled to accept the truth. Ryan might have been arrogant, he might have been selfish, but criminal, that seemed impossible. Unfortunately, facts don't care about feelings. Financial records connected Ryan to several shell companies. Emails revealed secret business agreements. Bank transfers exposed a network of illegal transactions. The evidence was overwhelming. Ryan had been using Emma's business connections for years. While pretending to support her success, he had secretly been building his own empire, using her resources, her reputation, and her trust. When Emma finally confronted him, the meeting became explosive. Ryan arrived at her office, expecting another chance. Instead, he found evidence spread across her desk. For several seconds, he stared at the documents. Then his expression changed. He knew he had been caught. Emma stood slowly. Her voice remained calm. Almost a calm. "Tell me I'm wrong," Ryan said. "Nothing. Tell me these records are fake." Still silence. Emma's eyes filled with disappointment. Not anger, disappointment, because betrayal hurts most when it comes from someone you trusted. Finally, Ryan laughed, a cold, bitter laugh. "I deserve part of that company." Emma stared at him. "What?" "I helped you, I stood beside you, I made you more famous." Emma couldn't believe what she was hearing. "You stole from me," Ryan stepped closer. "I took what I earned." "No," Emma replied. "You took what wasn't yours." For several seconds, tension filled the room. Then Ryan's face hardened. The charming public image disappeared completely, and for the first time, Emma saw who he truly was. "If you expose me," Ryan said quietly, "you'll regret it." The threat hung in the air, cold, dangerous. Real Emma looked directly into his eyes and answered with a single sentence: "Get out." Ryan left without another word, but the story didn't end there. In fact, it was only beginning. Within days, anonymous rumors started spreading. Online articles questioned Emma's leadership. Social media accounts accused her company of corruption. Business blogs published false stories. Investors became nervous partners, started asking questions. Someone was attacking Carter Enterprises, and it didn't take long to identify the source. Ryan Stone. He wanted revenge. If he couldn't control Emma, then he would destroy everything she loved. The attacks became more aggressive. Each day stock prices dropped. Clients hesitated. Employees worried about their future. Emma fought back publicly, but the damage continued growing. That was when I decided to get involved. My military career taught me many things. One of them was how people operate under pressure. Another was how to follow patterns. Every attack leaves clues, even when someone thinks they're being careful. I spent several days quietly reviewing information: financial records online, activity, communication trails, business connections. Slowly, a picture began emerging. Ryan wasn't acting alone. He had hired professionals to spread misinformation, manipulate public perception, and target Emma's company. But he made one mistake. He left evidence behind, enough evidence to connect everything directly back to him. When I presented the information to Emma, she stared at the files in disbelief. "You found all this?" I nodded. "Looks that way." She shook her head slowly. "Daniel, you continue." Surprising me, I smiled. "Occupational habit together." We brought the evidence to authorities. The investigation moved quickly, much faster than Ryan expected. Within days, warrants were issued, financial records were seized, accounts were frozen. Several individuals connected to the scheme began cooperating. The entire operation started collapsing. News channels reported the story nonstop. Public opinion shifted overnight. The same people who once praised Ryan now criticized him. Sponsors canceled contracts. Endorsement deals disappeared. His carefully built image fell apart, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. A week later, Emma and I stood outside a courthouse. Reporters crowded the entrance. Cameras flashed constantly. The atmosphere felt chaotic, yet strangely peaceful. Because the truth had finally won, Ryan walked past. Surrounded by attorneys for a brief moment, our eyes met. The anger in his expression was impossible to miss. But beneath the anger, I saw something else: regret. The kind that arrives too late. As he disappeared inside the building, Emma released a long breath. It's finally over. I looked at her almost. She smiled. You're right then. She turned toward me, and her expression softened. Thank you. You didn't have to help me. Yes, I did. Why? The question lingered between us. For a moment, neither of us moved. The noise around us seemed to fade. The reporters, the cameras, the crowd, everything disappeared. There was only Emma, standing a few feet away, looking at me, with eyes full of gratitude. And something else, something deeper, something neither of us had fully acknowledged. Until now, I smiled gently, because you mattered to me for a second. She looked completely speechless. Then her eyes shimmered with emotion. Neither of us stepped away. Neither of us looked elsewhere. The distance between us suddenly felt very small, very fragile, as though one more step might change everything. Then, a familiar voice interrupted. The moment Dad we both turned, Lily came running toward us from across the sidewalk. Her backpack bounced with every step. A huge smile covered her face. The moment shattered, but not completely, because the feelings remained stronger than ever. As Lily grabbed my hand and started telling us about her day, Emma walked beside us, smiling, and deep down, I realized something important. Ryan Stone was no longer the biggest challenge in our lives. The real challenge was what came next, because Emma Carter was becoming far more than a friend, and whether we admitted it or not, both of our hearts were already moving in the same direction, toward a future neither of us had planned, but both of us secretly wanted. After Ryan Stone's betrayal was exposed, life finally seemed to be settling down. The investigation was over. The attacks against Emma's company had stopped. Investors regained confidence. Employees returned to focusing on their work for the first time in months. Peace had returned. At least, that was what everyone believed. The truth was that another secret still remained hidden. A secret I had spent years protecting, not because I was ashamed of it, but because I never wanted it to define me. Unfortunately, secrets have a way of revealing themselves when you least expect it, and mine was about to change everything. A few weeks after Ryan's downfall, Emma invited Lily and me to a charity celebration hosted by Carter Enterprises. The event honored schools, hospitals, and community programs that had received support throughout the year. Many of those programs had been important to Lily's school, so naturally we attended. The ballroom was beautiful. Soft music filled the air. Guests moved between tables, while photographers captured every moment. Emma greeted everyone warmly. She looked happier than I had seen her in a long time. The stress caused by Ryan's actions was finally fading. As the evening continued, Lily disappeared. Toward the dessert table, Emma laughed. I think your daughter has eaten enough cake to feed a small village. I smiled. You're probably right. For a few moments we stood together, watching the crowd. The silence between us felt comfortable, natural, not awkward in the slightest. Then my phone vibrated. I glanced at the screen immediately. My expression changed. Emma noticed everything okay. I sighed quietly. Not exactly. The call came from my executive assistant, a person very few people knew existed, and there was only one reason she would call. During an event, something important had happened. I answered. After less than a minute, the conversation ended. Emma looked curious. What happened? I hesitated, then smiled. Slightly. Looks like my peaceful evening is over. Before she could ask another question, the ballroom entrance suddenly opened. Every head turned outside. Enormous spotlights illuminated the night sky. A sleek black helicopter slowly descended onto the private landing area. Beside the building, guests rushed toward. The windows. Whispers spread throughout the room. Confusion quickly followed. Several luxury vehicles arrived moments later. Men and women in expensive business attire stepped out. Each carried briefcases and tablets. The atmosphere shifted instantly. These weren't ordinary guests. These were executives, powerful executives. Emma frowned. "What is going on?" Before I could answer, the group entered the ballroom. The moment they saw me, they walked directly toward us. One of them stopped only a few feet away. "Mr. Brooks, we apologize for interrupting your evening." The room fell silent. Emma blinked. "What?" The executive continued. "The board meeting cannot proceed without your approval." I closed my eyes briefly. Exactly the situation I had hoped to avoid around us. Dozens of guests stared in confusion. Emma looked from the executive to me, then back again. Finally, she spoke. "Board meeting." No one answered, at least not immediately. The executive handed me a folder. "Sir, the acquisition documents require your signature." Emma's eyes widened. Acquisition? I knew there was no hiding it anymore. Not now. Not after this. Slowly, I accepted the folder. The cover displayed the logo of Brooks Global Technologies, one of the largest technology corporations in the country. Emma recognized it instantly. Everyone did. The company appeared regularly in business magazines, financial news, and international markets. Her gaze shifted toward me, then toward the logo, then back again. The realization slowly appeared on her face. "No way," I sighed. "Emma, you own Brooks Global." Several nearby guests gasped. I remained silent. That silence was answer enough. For a moment, Emma simply stared, completely speechless. The powerful CEO, who always had an answer, suddenly had none. Finally, she found her voice. "You're the founder." I nodded. "Yes." The room exploded with whispers. People couldn't believe what they were hearing. For years, Brooks Global had operated under professional management. Very few people had ever seen its founder publicly. Rumors surrounded the company's mysterious owner. Some claimed he lived overseas. Others believed he had retired. No one guessed he was standing among them, disguised as an ordinary single father. Emma looked genuinely shocked. "You never told me." "I never wanted to." Why? The answer was simple. Because money had never been the most important thing in my life. Years earlier, I had built Brooks Global from a small startup into a technology powerhouse. The company grew faster than anyone expected. Success arrived, then wealth followed. Everything seemed perfect, until the day my wife died. That accident changed me forever. Suddenly, business meetings felt meaningless. Financial reports felt empty. Stock prices no longer mattered. The only thing that mattered was Lily. So I stepped away. I appointed professional executives, created a management structure, and focused on being a father. That decision confused many people, but I never regretted it, not for a second. As I explained the story, Emma listened carefully. The shock in her expression gradually transformed into understanding. When I finished, she smiled softly. "You walked away from billions." I walked toward my daughter. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Then Emma laughed quietly. "Only you would say something like that." The next morning, every major news outlet reported the story. Headlines appeared everywhere. "Mystery single dad revealed as billionaire. Founder. Hidden tech titan shocks. Chicago champion, defeating father owns global corporation. My peaceful, private life vanished overnight." Reporters surrounded my house. Television crews waited outside offices. Journalists desperately searched for interviews. Fortunately, security handled most of the chaos. Still, the attention felt exhausting. Meanwhile, someone else reacted very differently. Ryan Stone. The moment he learned the truth, his anger intensified. For months, he convinced himself that I had embarrassed him through luck. Now he faced another reality. The man he hated wasn't merely a skilled fighter. He was also one of the wealthiest businessmen in America. Ryan couldn't accept it. His jealousy became obsession. His obsession became desperation, and desperate people often make dangerous decisions. A week later, Ryan announced a public challenge. Another fight. This time, broadcast nationwide, millions of viewers would watch. The media loved the story. Former champion versus hidden billionaire. The narrative spread instantly. Everyone wanted to know whether I would accept it first. I planned to refuse. But then information reached me through private security contacts. Ryan wasn't interested in a fair match. He had hired several dangerous individuals. Their purpose wasn't publicity. It was intimidation. Possibly worse, the moment I learned this, everything changed. If Ryan wanted another confrontation, then this situation needed to end permanently. The event took place inside a massive sports arena. Thousands attended in person, millions watched online. The atmosphere felt electric. Cameras followed every movement. Commentators discussed every detail. Ryan entered first. The crowd reacted with mixed emotions. Some still supported him, others remembered everything he had done. Then I entered the audience, erupted not because I was famous, but because people love unexpected stories. And mine certainly qualified as the event prepared to begin. Unexpected movement occurred near the arena entrance. Security teams suddenly surrounded several individuals, attempting to access restricted areas within minutes. Authorities arrived. Investigations quickly revealed hidden weapons, unauthorized equipment, and communication devices. The entire scheme unraveled in real time. Ryan's associates were arrested. Evidence connected everything back to him. The audience watched in disbelief. Commentators struggled to process what was happening. Ryan stood frozen. His final plan had collapsed. Before the fight even started, a few moments later, police officers approached him. The arena became silent. Millions watched live as Ryan's career ended, not with applause, not with victory, but with handcuffs. As officers escorted him away, he turned toward me. The anger in his eyes remained, but now it was mixed with defeat. "You took everything from me." The arena waited for my response. I looked directly at him, then answered calmly, "No, you took everything from yourself." Silence followed. Then applause erupted across the arena, louder than anything heard that night. Because deep down, everyone understood the truth. Ryan's downfall wasn't caused by me. It was caused by his own choices. As police vehicles disappeared into the distance, I looked toward the crowd, toward the future, toward the people who mattered most, Emma and Lily. The battle with Ryan was finally over, completely over, but standing there beneath the bright arena lights, I realized something important. The biggest moment of my life wasn't defeating a champion, building a billion-dollar company, or exposing a criminal scheme. The biggest moment was still waiting, because, for the first time in many years, my heart was ready to move forward, and that future included Emma Carter. Whether she realized it yet or not, the next chapter of our story was about to begin. For a long time, I believed life had already given me everything it was ever going to give. Had loved deeply. I had experienced success, had known happiness, and I had also known loss. After my wife passed away, I convinced myself that part of my heart would remain closed forever, because I wanted it that way, but because moving forward felt impossible. Then Emma Carter walked into my life at first. She was simply a powerful CEO who happened to witness me defeating a boxing champion. More nothing. Blessed, but life has a strange way of turning ordinary moments into extraordinary stories. Before either of us realized it, our lives became connected in ways neither of us could have imagined. Several months had passed since Ryan Stone's arrest. The chaos was gone. The media attention had finally faded. Business returned to normal land. For the first time in years, I felt completely at peace. One Saturday morning, Lily and I sat on the porch, enjoying breakfast together. The weather was beautiful. The sky was clear and the neighborhood felt calm. Lily took a bite of her pancake, then looked at me carefully. Whenever she gave me that look, I knew she was about to ask something dangerous. "Dad." "Yes, when are you going to marry Emma?" I nearly dropped my seemed becoming embarrassed. Was now a permanent part of my life, Lily. What she smiled innocently. "I'm just asking you. Ask that every week, because you never answer." I shook my head while laughing. She leaned forward dramatically. You love her. I remained silent. She loves you. Still silent. Everybody knows it. I pointed toward her plate. Eat your breakfast. She laughed loudly. The conversation ended. At least on the surface, because deep down, I knew she was right somewhere along the way. Emma had become incredibly important to me, not because she was successful, not because she was beautiful, certainly not because she was famous. She mattered because of who she was. Her kindness, her strength, her loyalty, the way she treated Lily, the way she believed in people, the way she never stopped fighting for what mattered. Those qualities meant more than money ever could. Let her. That afternoon, I met Emma for lunches. Usual, she arrived 5 minutes late, claiming an important meeting had delayed hers. Usual, I didn't believe her, and as usual, she laughed when I said so. Some things never changed. Honestly, I liked it that way. While we talked, I found myself studying her more than usual. The way she smiled, the way her eyes lit up when she spoke about something she loved, the way she always pretended to be tougher than she actually was. Her realization slowly settled into my mind. I didn't want to spend part of my life with Emmy, wanted to spend the rest of it with her. The decision felt surprisingly simple. The challenge wasn't deciding, the challenge was planning, because proposing to Emma Carter required something special, very special. Fortunately, I knew exactly where to begin. A few days later, I contacted several close friends, then a few business associates, some event planners. The project quickly became much larger than expected. Everyone wanted to help, especially after learning the reason of an. Lily became involved. In fact, she insisted on being involved. Every evening, she offered suggestions. Most of them were ridiculously, few were surprisingly brilliant. One night, she looked at me seriously. You should propose where everything started. The moment she said it, I knew she was right. The ballroom. The same ballroom where Emma jokingly announced, "Beat my champion boyfriend, and I'll marry Youth Place," where our entire story began. It was perfect. Over the following weeks, preparations continued. Quietly, Emma remained completely unaware. Was impressive, considering how difficult it is to surprise someone who runs a major corporation. Finally, the day arrived. I invited Emma to a special charity celebration. The invitation seemed ordinary. Nothing suspicious. Nothing unusual. She accepted immediately. In the evening of the event, I arrived early. The ballroom looked incredibly. Decorations filled the room. Golden lights illuminated every corner. Fresh flowers lined the entrance. Soft music played in the background. Everything felt magical. Guests slowly arrived. Many were people who had witnessed our story from the beginning: business leaders, friends, school representatives, community members, and of course, Lily, who spent the entire evening trying to act as though she didn't know a secret. Fortunately, she was a terrible actress every time Emma looked in her direction. She smiled suspiciously. Emma arrived the moment she entered the ballroom. She paused. A look of confusion crossed her face. "Daniel, what is all this?" I smiled. "You'll see." She narrowed her eyes. "That answer worries me." I laughed and guided her insight. Throughout the evening, guests shared stories about charity projects, community programs, then lives that had been improved. The atmosphere felt warm and genuine, exactly the way Emma liked it. As the night continued, the crowd gradually gathered near the center of the ballroom. The room became quieter. Ma looked around curiously. "Something is happening." I nodded yes. She turned toward Ma, then stopped speaking, because at that moment, I stepped forward. The crowd fell completely silent. Every eye focused on Yusi. Took a slow breath. Cinnamly. All the confidence that helped me defeat champions and build companies disappeared, because this moment mattered more than any business deal, more than any competition, more than any achievement. Looked surprised, then concerned, then emotional as she realized what was happening. I smiled gently. "Emma." The room became even quieter. If someone had told me a year ago that my life would change because of a boxing match, I would have laughed. Several guests smiled, including Emma. I continued. when I stepped into that ring, I wasn't looking for attention, I wasn't looking for success, and I certainly wasn't looking for love. Emma's eyes never left mine, but life had other plans. I glanced briefly toward Lily. She was already crying, which immediately made several other people emotional, including May. Looked back at Emma. You became my friend, my partner, my inspiration. You stood beside me during difficult moments. You cared about Lily. You cared about me. And every day since then, you have made my life better. Tears filled Emma's eyes. Several guests wiped away tears of their own then. I took one final step forward slowly. I reached into my pocket and removed a small velvet box. To room. Gasped Emma, covered her mouth for a moment. Neither of us spoke then. I lowered myself onto one. Neither exact moment Lily had been waiting forth. Entire ballroom erupted into excited whispers. I opened the ring box. A beautiful diamond sparkled beneath the lights. Then I looked directly into Emma's eyes, the same eyes that had changed my life, and asked the most important question I had ever asked. Emma Carter, will you marry me? Time seemed to stop. The room disappeared, the crowd disappeared, except hurt tears rolled down Emma's cheeks for several seconds. She couldn't speak then. She laughed through those tears. Kind of laugh that comes from pure happiness. Finally, she nodded, answered with one word, yes. The ballroom exploded with applause. Cheers echoed through the room. People stood from their seats. Some laughed, some cried, others did both. Emma pulled me to my feet, then wrapped her arms around me. For a moment, we simply held each other, neither wanting to let go. Nearby, Lily jumped up and down with excitement. Dad did it. Dad actually did it. The crowd laughed then. Lily ran forward and hugged both of us as we stood together, surrounded by friends, family, and people who cared about us. I realized something important. The promise Emma made as a joke had become reality. Beat my champion boyfriend, and I'll marry you back. Then it was only a playful challenge, a line meant to entertain a crowd. But fate had other ideas, because the man who accepted that challenge didn't just win a fight. He found a family. He found happiness and, most importantly, he found love again. As I looked at Emma and Lily standing beside me, knew one thing with absolute certainty. Greatest chapter of my life wasn't ending, it was only beginning, and this time we would write the future together. The end.